Hey there, my name's Kim, and today I'll be showing you how to create your first Atom plugin. Woo! So first things first, head on over to atom.io and download Atom if you don't already have it. It's pretty straightforward, and once it's downloaded, you can head on over to users, put in your username, and you'll see the .atom package. So within that package, there's a sub-package called packages, which you may have guessed contains all your packages, and each one has its own package. So what we can do is we can go ahead and create a folder for our plugin. So I'll just call it first plugin. And today we'll be creating a dictionary plugin. So basically the user can search a word in the editor, and then the definition will pop up in a little display window. So pretty simple, a nice way to jump into Atom. So depending on your package, you'll need to create certain folders, some less, some more, but I'll go over the basic ones that are important to know. So the first one is menus. And menus is basically identifying the menu mappings for your package. So if you take a look at the one that I've already built, menus, the menu is basically where you're gonna find where to activate your plugin. So it'll be located at the menu bar with the label packet under the label packages, and there'll be a submenu item that's going to be called Kim's Dictionary plugin, and under that'll be another menu called toggle. So you can see that here, Kim's Dictionary plugin, toggle. That's going to activate your plugin. And then there's another folder that's called key maps. And now key maps is going to be, well, where you identify the key mappings. When you create a Atom plugin, the default is Control Alt O. What we're going to do is I'm going to make it D so that we're able to distinguish between our packages. Because if you leave it as the default and you have more than one that maps to that key, you might get some weird behavior. So let's play it safe. And another folder is going to be our styles folder. So that's going to be where you put all your style sheets. You'll see at the end of the tutorial that I'll be modifying a bit one of the panels in Atom, and basically you'll put your styling there. And then there's the library folder, which is going to hold basically all the logic for our plugin. But the most important file is going to be our package.json file. So I'll show you an example of the one that I created. And so this one's very important because this is how Atom's going to recognize your plugin. And then this is what's going to get loaded when your plugin is activated. So we can take a look at some of the important keys in this file. So we have name, which is the name of our plugin. Main is going to be the entry point to your plugin. So it's by convention, it's usually located under library, and it's the name of your plugin, .coffee or .javascript. If you don't specify the main key, that's okay. By default, Atom's going to look though for an index.coffee or an index.javascript. So make sure you're aware of that. Version is going to be the version number of our plugin. Follows the convention, major, minor, and then bug version. Description is just to let others know what our package does. Activation commands is what's going to get called when your package is activated. In our case, we're going to call the toggle. The repository is the public repository where you can find the code to the plugin, and that kind of goes hand in hand with bug, where you can submit issues for that plugin. License is going to be the name of the license. Engine, it just specifies what's the required version of Atom that you need to run this plugin. And dependencies is going to be other packages that your package might need to be able to run. So in the end, you actually don't have to create all those packages by hand. What you can do is you can do Control, Shift, and P, and then put package generator. Atom has this beautiful thing where it's going to create the skeleton for a package, so we'll call it my dictionary plugin. Whoops, it'll be now called dictionary login. That's not really that important. So let's go ahead and actually dive into some code a bit. So as we said, the name of our plugin .javascript is going to be where our logic is. Now there's usually three methods in this this file. There's the activate method, the deactivate method, and the serialize method. And the deactivate method just kind of destroys the various class instances that you created, and the serialize is going to pass the serialization to the view class. Now don't worry too much if you don't understand this just yet. You're just getting started and that's totally normal. But what's kind of important is our activate method. That's going to get what's going to get executed when your plugin is loaded. And what it's going to do is it's going to instantiate the view class, and it's going to set up what we need. So we're going to be creating a modal panel, which is a UI element in Atom. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a UI element, but it's going to make sure that's still visible because we only want to load this this item once we toggle the actual plugin. So it's pretty nice. Atom sets us up with all this code, this structure for us, but what we really care about is the toggle method, and which is what, like I said, what gets called when you run the package. It's either invoked by that menu item that we created, or by a hotkey, which is under our key mappings, which was the Control Alt, in this case 0, which is still oh, sorry, not 0. So we'll change the default just so we don't get confused. So we'll change it to Control Alt U. So what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to create like a reference to our current text editor to be able to grab the word that we want to look up. So we're going to create an object called editor, and that's going to call atom.workspace. We're going to get the active text editor that we're in. And we want to be able to support two different scenarios. So we want to be able to support when the user wants to highlight a word, or the second one where they just have their cursor on the word to be able to look it up. So the first one we'll define a variable called word to search, the word we want to look up, and we'll call editor.getSelectedText. Simple enough. And then if that's not the case, if it's not selected, then we'll make word to search equal to get word under cursor. Pretty simple, right? But we'll need to remember to define our word to search so that Atom doesn't complain. And I'm gonna put actually a placeholder for our variable just to make sure, because in activate it's gonna call our view, it's gonna instantiate it, and so we don't want any complaints that we didn't define it, even though it's gonna get updated later. So as you can see, we have a root element and a message element for our view. So to be able to update our search, what we want to do is we want to create a method called, let's say, set_element. Call it as you wish though. And what we want to do is we want to update the root element and their child. So we only have the messages, its first child, so there's only one child, and the index starts at 0. We're going to set its content to equal, just for show, the word that we want to search. So let's go ahead and do that. Awesome. So we created basically like an update method for our view. But to be able for that to run, we need to call it from our toggle. So let's do this dot my dictionary login view, and we're going to call the set element method. Now, if you try to toggle the plugin that we created, it's not going to work because Atom needs to be reloaded with the latest version of our source code. So to do that, you can either close and reopen Atom, but that's a little annoying. So what we're going to do is we're going to view developer and we're going to reload the window. And wait for that to happen. And then just to make sure, our key map is Control Alt U. So let's find a word that we want to look up. Let's look up deactivate. So I'm going to put my cursor there and I'm going to do Control Alt U. Yay! So we were able to successfully update our modal panel with word and the word we want to search. So let's toggle it again and you'll see that the panel gets gets hidden actually. So now what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to connect our plugin with some sort of dictionary API. For this tutorial, I've actually chosen Oxford Dictionaries API, but you're more than welcome to use any API that you're comfortable with. So you'll need to like sign in and be able to get your API ID and your API key. So this is the code. You can grab it from GitHub. If you follow through at the end, you'll see I'll give a link to the tutorial that I have online. So you'll have the links to this code. So let's grab that and we're going to pop that into our toggle method. And this is, oops, let's make it a little prettier. Oops. No. Wow, way to go, Kim. So let's fix that. Perfect. So what I'm doing here is let's just put a note. So API call. Let's call it. So here I'm defining an object called XHR, and that's an XML HTTP request. It's going to have some credentials that I need to provide, like the API key, API ID, what kind of format we want to do, and that kind of stuff. And I'm going to attach a listener to this request because I want to be able to be notified when the state is changed, but not only when the state is changed, but when it's actually completed, the request is completed. So once that happens, we're actually going to have to parse the response that we get back from the API, because it's what happens is with the Oxford Dictionaries, it gives us this huge JSON file, and we need to go through it because all we really care about is the definition. And for the sake of this tutorial, I'm only going to grab the first definition, which, as you know, many words have more than one definition, but we're just to plow through, we're going to grab the first one. So we're going to parse the response, and then we're going to grab the element that we need. And for debugging purposes, I put a console.log so that you can see the output that we're getting. You can even do console.log and put directly the JSON text so that you can actually see the breakdown of the JSON that's being returned to us. So go ahead and pop that into our toggle method. And since we defined a new variable, I want to make sure that we define it and we don't get any silly errors saying that, hey, you didn't define it. So we're going to do another placeholder for this one. And what we want to do is we want to actually update our UI to reflect that. So word equals word to search is defined as, and then I'm going to add in our word definition. So let's go ahead and reload Atom. Drum roll, da 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 da. Awesome. So what we want to do now is we want to run our plugin so that we can see the results. Now make sure to have gone back to the toggle method and updated the app ID and the app key with the ones given from Oxford Dictionary, because if you copy paste the code on GitHub, you're going to get a JSON error, I think, thrown at you because nothing's being returned because you never actually sent the request to the API. So make sure to do that. So let's try running the command on deactivate again. So let's do Control-Alt-U. Yay! So word equals deactivate is defined as remove from active duty. Awesome! So you just actually made your first Atom plugin. You should be super happy. So in my dictionary plugin, I actually went ahead and I customized the styling sheet. So I actually override a few of the basic UI styling of the modal panel, and I actually add in some other ones for each element within my root element that I've defined. Let's take a look at it over here. So I've actually created more elements. So I have a header, a word search message, and word search definition. And so go in, check the code on GitHub and run it. If you try to run the code on a non-word, you're going to get thrown an error. So that's going to be one of the bugs that I'm going to put under my issues under my GitHub. And over the next few days, I'm going to actually work on that. Feel free to jump in. So let's see. Let's try running it on the deactivate method. So Control-Alt-E, and you're going to see this pretty little display that